Hello, and welcome back to the Very Real Estate Effect podcast, a show dedicated to real estate investing in Quebec. So today, I'm glad to welcome Thierry Samlal for the second time. So hi, Thierry.
Hi, Axel. How are you?
Very good, very good. So I'm happy to have you back. We did an episode about 2-3 months ago, and there's a lot been happening on the market, and I thought it'd be a good idea to have you back. And so maybe you can kind of give us like quarterly updates on what's happening right now. The market is boiling hot, and I was hoping to get into it right away with you, because a lot of people out there are eager to know what's happening, where to invest, what kind of asset classes, and so on. So first of all, like, what are you seeing on the market right now?
Well, I think you said it, quarterly is very important. The market is moving excessively fast. There's a lot of changes. So we have to be able to adapt and we have to be able to accept changes while we're transacting. Usually, when we're doing a real estate transaction on a multifamily building, the transaction can take anywhere between 3 months to 6 months. Usually we're talking about 6 months now. And the market's changing within that period of 6 months. So the important thing is not to panic, to look for the opportunity in the change, and to roll with the punches and roll with the change, and maximize whatever we're doing, but also having some flexibility on the file and being ready in advance for any changes that might happen.
Mhm.
Just to give you an idea, in the last quarter, so basically between the 1st of January and the 30th of March, we've done very well in multifamily. To give you an idea, volume-wise, for January, we did about $617 million worth of transactions in Quebec of 6 units and above.
Wow.
So that's 617. In February, we did 520, 522, and 507 or somewhere around there for the month of March. Statistically speaking, that's actually 48% of everything we've done last year.
Wow. So
We
there's
did it
already
in the
been
first quarter. Yeah,
so there's already been about 1.6 billion of transactions since January.
right.
Whoa.
Which is incredible. So when we're looking at that and we're going back in time, we know that those transactions started to lock in probably 6 months earlier. So it's the effect of the past that we're having right now. Is that market going to maintain all along till the end of December? We're going to see volume wise. So we did have a lot of people coming up to the plate, wanting to refinance, wanting to close. A lot of that tried to happen in November, December, could not happen because the professionals were just not available, or the banking system was not able to handle that much volume. So all that volume is now spit out on the market. We've done it in the first quarter. Now that's dollar-wise, number of transaction-wise. And when you're looking dollar-wise, you could have a couple of large transactions, which are just picking up the market.
Exactly.
But what's interesting here is to look at and I have a couple of statistics, but we're about 300 transactions per month since the beginning of the year. So that means that we did exactly 973 transactions.
And just to be clear, that's in multifamily 6 units and above. So that excludes all the single family homes and all that, just to be clear with the audience.
Right, exactly. No duplexes, no triplexes, no quadruplexes. Next year, we're going to pick up on the 5 units also. They're going to be in our statistics. But basically, 6 units and above, 973 transactions compared to the whole last year, which was 2,355. So we're at 41%.
Mm-hmm.
So we've picked up in number of transactions, but we also picked up in sales volume. Of course, we have a few large transactions that came out on the market that we're going to be able to talk about today.
Sure.
So the volume is there. So it's pretty interesting. Now, with that volume, we have change coming. And one of the main factors, there's a lot of optimizers, and probably a lot of the people that are listening to us right now are looking to optimize or are optimizers on the market. The big issues that they've had right now, it's not to buy out the tenants or negotiate with the tenants or accommodate the tenants, put it as you wish, but it's more the price it's costing to renovate the units. What we're seeing in the market right now is we're seeing quotations coming out by renovation companies, people that have their licenses to renovate, and those quotations are good for 30, 45 days. and whoops, all of a sudden the work cannot be done during that period. The deposit was not given. And we call those people back up. Okay, I'm ready to come, but now the prices have increased of 15, 20%. So that's an issue. The way I'm seeing that the market's working around that is maybe people that had an idea of really majorly renovating the units are coming back to the old model saying, okay, what could I recycle here? What could I reuse? Do I really have to remove my gyprock? Do I have to do it on all walls? Could I just do it on one wall, go from the back wall, take care of my electricity, do the same thing with the plumbing? Do I really have to change electrics? Do I really have to change the plumbing? So before there was an economy of stripping down to the bone, starting over. That was less costly. Today, it's more, let's go back to the old model. What could I salvage out of all of this and make sure that I have the good quality of the product when I'm done? I've seen a couple of buildings. I live in Rosemont. I've seen a couple of buildings, Rosemont, which is central eastern part of Montreal. And I've seen a couple of brick workers, taking down the brick, recycling the brick, even if it was in not that good of a shape, and putting it back up there. So why are they doing that? First of all, cost-wise. And when you don't have to get rid of the brick, well, you're saving on also, getting rid of the brick and calling a container, etc. And also because the material is not available. That's the other issue that we have right now.
Yeah.
So you probably heard about that, Axel, on the market, and I know that you're pretty close to the market, so that you know that material is just not available. You're going at the hardware these days. You want to pick up a couple of gyprock sheets, impossible to get gyprock. So you have to buy a little bit here, go to another hardware shop a little down the street, and buy elsewhere also, and just gain on the material. So
it's interesting what you're mentioning, because I like to go back just a little bit. And prior to making the transaction, so pre-notary, there's so many steps that need to be done. And you're absolutely right now that all the professionals are so backlogged. Like on several projects, like one of them, to get an evaluation, it took just over a month. To get an arpenteur, a land surveyor, to come on site, it's 6 weeks. And you used to be able to do that in under a month. And I even heard of some arpenteurs that are saying, we're not taking any more mandates until at least the end of the summer, because we are overloaded right now. And so those are just some of the professionals prior to notarizing. Then you become owner. And I'm in the situation right now where back in November, I had planned to do some work on a building, redo the foundations and redo some stonework. The work was supposed to start today, ironically, today, Monday. And he called me last week and said, hey, we need to delay 1 week because I can't get concrete. Just that simple. And he said, we're going to open it, on va faire le coffrage, mais après ça, if I can't fill it within the next day or two, it's not good for the building. So it was decided to delay 1 week because, as you mentioned, the availability of material is actually very difficult right now.
Yeah, and then you have the compounding effect of all of this. So basically now we're talking about cement work that needs to be done. Now, if that work is not done, then the next professional cannot come in, and that delays your financing, refinancing.
Yeah.
So I think it's an issue, but we're still in a market where the financing criteria are still very interesting, and the market is still pretty stable. And I think the market's going to stay stable for about 6 months. Why? Because it takes 6 months for the multifamily market to correct approximately over time. 6 months to a year, and it's hard to say in advance, but we'll see what's going to happen. So the market's very strong right now. And even if we have those issues, we're still able to rent at a little higher pricing. So we're able to compensate for the time wait. Also, with the interest rates are pretty stable right now. So what could change in a market like this? Another factor which is very important is financing.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So what we're seeing right now, just you probably heard, and people that are listening to us also right now, that the CHMC is changing its criteria. So now this created a larger alert in the market. Oh, the CHMC is putting in criteria which is much more severe. What's going to happen to the financing? Can the banking value of my building, not the sales value in the market, but the banking value, economic value of the building shrink? Well, the good news is that the CHMC every 5, 6 years, etc. It's been 6 years now. They review the current expenses of the market and they prepare a report. With that report, they come out with market tendencies. And then what they'll do is they'll take those tendencies and they'll use them as a normalization factor for expenses on the financing that they're going to be giving out on buildings. So for example, if you have a concrete building with concrete slabs, well, usually they would put a maintenance fee of $750 per year, per door for that building. Now we're up to $950. So we're going up a bit, but it's just a bit per factor. So we have the same thing for bad debt vacancy. We have the same thing for administration, etc. So what's happening with this for those who are not familiar is when you're financing through the banking system or with the CHMC is going to put down real expenses, and it's also going to put down estimated expenses for certain criteria, and then they'll establish the net income on your building and then establish the financing. So the good news here is that a lot of people thought that we would be increasing the expenses on our buildings, but the CHMC is still using any proven bill that you could use. They're still going to use that bill. Okay. For example, so if they've increased the insurance criteria on the building, well, if you're able to come in with insurance quotation, you're fine. Same thing with taxes, etc. Okay. So it's not an issue that's going to affect the value of the building. Once also the interest rates stay the way they are, we have no issues on the market. So the good news is that's a big scare for the market, but we'll be able to maintain our financing values. We might lose maybe and have to put down, lose maybe $10,000, $20,000 on the larger buildings, a little bit less on the smaller buildings. So it's not really an issue in today's market because we could still pick up on those values.
Yeah, and when we think about it, like it's normal and it's good for the CHMC to do this and to increase the rate, in so to speak, of normalization, because it's true that a lot of the costs, the operating expenses have increased. So they need to stay aligned on the market, because last week when this was announced, a lot of people got worried and scared. And at the same time, look, all costs are increasing. They just kind of change the rate on certain line items. It's not that surprising in a way.
It's not, but it's not that surprising. It's interesting to see how the CHMC has done it. They've always done it this way in the past, but what's interesting to look at is the 6 units, they keep it in a category which is more or less on its own. Okay. Then you have the 5 to 11 units and the 12 units and above. So they all react differently. They're also looking at the building with service or without services. So do we have hydro? Are we paying for the hot water, etc.? They're looking at buildings before 1974 and after 1975. So right there, it's a good way of, if you're shopping for a building on the market, you'll know that if the CHMC has different criteria for buildings built before 1974 and after 1975, that probably if you're buying a building 1970, 1960, you're going to have larger issues with renovations and upkeep than you'll have on a building 1975 and above. So if the CHMC has already put that criteria into place, if you're out there searching in the market, what should I buy? How should I renovate? Well, look at the CHMC. They'll give you, the barometer of what you need to do in the market these days for people that are starting off in multifamily. It's a good way of doing things.
And I understand that those changes are recommendations, maybe strong recommendations. And also, as you mentioned, if you can still come up with your financials and say, well, this is really what it cost me. And I'm just going to pick the example of, maintenance on, for example, on an elevator. If you can still get the maintenance done for $2,000, whereas they recommend $3,500, you can back it up, then that's fine.
It's fine. And they'll accept the invoice once you're within market par and it makes sense. And then it depends on the area, the sector, the age of the building, and the knowledge of the CHMC undertaker. When they're underwriting the not undertaker,
underwriter. Yeah.
It's not the same thing. So so it depends on that person.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to you about certain markets which are really overperforming right now. I don't know if a lot of our people that are listening to us are in Three Rivers or that area, but Three Rivers has been overperforming, pretty impressive.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just to let you know, in the past year, we've increased 58%, 58%
Wow.
the number of multifamily transactions in Three Rivers.
And the prices are still affordable. I mean, it depends on, if we come with a Montreal standard going to Trois-Rivières, it feels like everything is so cheap, of course. But when you compare, for example, to, other similar market, I'm just thinking of Sherbrooke, then Three Rivers, yeah, might seem on the affordable side.
It does. It's Three Rivers is a particular market. It's a sub-market,
Hmm.
but so basically we have Montreal market, the Quebec market, Three Rivers, Sherbrooke, Gatineau. And as you said, Sherbrooke is a nice and stable market. It has been for quite a while. So it's a university-based, student-based hub, basically where you have a lot of students coming in and out, different universities, different schools there. So it's nice and stable. The students are there in certain season. They leave home when they're not within the schooling season, but they're still paying their rents. So it's nice and stable. Three Rivers was underspeculated for a long time, and there's a lot of changes in Three Rivers. The average price per door in Three Rivers is about $61,000 per door. The
Wow.
average price per door market in the global Quebec in the province is about 107. And in Montreal right now, we're going way above that. We have a lot of transactions in the 200,000 per door range, even in the smaller units, coming up to par left and right. So when you're trying to buy in Montreal, when you're trying to buy in Quebec City, while you're starting off, you might not have the budget to go there. So a lot of people are turning to Three Rivers and now are optimizing, renovating, and increasing the rents.
Now, just going back on Three Rivers, for years we've heard that Three Rivers had a declining population, that the industrial base was leaving, and I'm thinking of the big pulp and paper plants that are over there, so on and so forth. Can you talk a little bit? Do you know anything about, like, in terms of the demographics and the population growth? Is it still declining?
Well, what's happening in all urban areas right now is, yeah, there's a lot of people leaving the urban areas, but there's a lot of people coming back too. And what they're looking for is you have to look at what's available in those areas. And Tree Rivers, one of the main factors is that, first of all, everything that's around the university district, I call it the triangle,
Hmm.
basically, that goes from the cemetery, the CEGEP. You have also a couple of old people homes in there. You have the university, and then you have everything that's commercial that surrounds that. If you're in that area, you're for sure picking up price per door drastically right now.
Hmm.
After that, the inventory that's available in Three Rivers, we have a lot of triplexes, fourplexes, but you don't have a lot of larger buildings, and you don't have a lot of renovated buildings. And a lot of the tenants in that area are picking up in salary, and they want to be able to have something that's renovated. So a lot of the optimizers are going for those first. So what's the absorption rate, and when is this tendency going to end? It's hard to say. But in the last year, we've picked up quite a bit.
Hmm.
And the issue that we had before that is a lot of people did not want to go buy in Three Rivers. A lot of buyers that were in Montreal and Quebec did not believe in that area because historically it was tagged as being a poor area as far as the capacity to increase the rents.
Hmm.
But here we're proving elsewise because people have done it and now we're refinancing, optimizing, etc.
Hmm.
So price per door is increasing. It would be nice to see by the end of the year if we're keeping that tendency or not. Also, the municipality has been injecting a lot of money into the older part of Three Rivers. They put in a theater close to the old port. They're revamping the old port sector. They demolished a lot of buildings and redone most of the infrastructure in that area
Yeah.
along the waterfront. And they're rebuilding right now, brand new buildings. So that area is going to be revamped. In that area, if you're looking at geographically speaking, you have the waterfront and then you have the highway. In between, you have the old Three Rivers. So
Yeah.
if you're revamping one side, well, of course, we're going to pick up all the way to the highway. It's just a question of
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, and Three Rivers is also benefiting from the effect of COVID, where, as you mentioned, a lot of people are leaving the big urban centers and wanting to go to, I was going to say a tier two, tier three city in size, and wanting more space, more affordable, and so on. So the timing maybe was good between the city injecting a lot of funds into renovating the town and the infrastructure, as combined with the effects of COVID and the changes in migration.
You're 100% right, Axel. The what's going on here is that people also, when they're in the urban areas, being locked in, basically, they want to have some kind of service around. They want lifestyle, and we're going back to that model that's working very well in Montreal. Right now, we're creating micro cities within the city, and that's a model which is working very well in the rest of North America. Where people are going to be happy to live in an area. They'll be proud of living in that area, having the services. So I think Trois Rivers is going towards that model. And just to come back to Trois Rivers, once again, there's been a very large transaction that took place in Trois Rivers, quite impressive. 513 units sold one shot.
Wow. Did PMML do the deal?
Unfortunately not.
Ah.
We'd like to be in that deal. I followed it closely. It's a deal that's over $62 million, mostly concrete assets. The largest assets available in Trois Rivers were belonging to the same owner, and it was a one-shop sale. So, concrete, elevator, interior garage, some services, very good location. One of those buildings was in the old Trois Rivers district.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressive. And that transaction went for about $121,000 per door. And, when you're looking at the global price per door in Trois Rivers, and you have a transaction that goes for 500 units at $121,000 per door, it's going to immediately affect the rest of the market.
Yeah.
So, if there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of smaller units also, triplexes. We're not talking about triplexes, but if you want to optimize in that area, you could definitely go pick up some owner occupancy also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so just going to stay on Trois Rivers, like in terms of asset class, okay, so the multifamily, like for small investors right now who are sick and tired of the Montreal prices, what would you recommend that they go look for in this town?
Well, it's going to depend on the cash down available of the buyer. So, you have a lot of sixplexes.
Mm-hmm.
You have the standard 1950, 1960, 1970 version, which you're going to find a little bit away from the main city. So you have complete neighborhoods that were built in the 60s and the 70s. If you're looking for larger units, something that's cheaper in price, you could go to old Trois Rivers, and then you're going to find a lot of 9plexes, 12plexes, all kinds of constructions, all kinds of sizes of units. I think I would go there first. If I'm starting, I would go there first. I would buy my first asset there. Why? Because it doesn't take much to increase the rents to have a leverage effect, which is important on the building because of the price that you're paying for a start. So you could find a lot of assets at below $600,000 is still available in Trois Rivers. So you're buying those. Your cost of renovations are still controlled. All you need to do is aesthetic work. And then you can make sure that your tenant that's say paying $400 a month could still afford the $450 to $500 to have a nice clean unit.
Yeah.
And then pick up on the leverage effect there.
Mm-hmm.
I would start with that. And then there's a lot of opportunities also. There's a lot of a change of in hand of assets. There's a lot of baby boomers that want to get rid of their assets right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of listings in Trois Rivers also. So we see that tendency where you could also buy a building which is closer to economic value in Trois Rivers than you'll get in Quebec City or Montreal.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to start. If you're buying an asset, keeping it 5 to 10 years, you're sure to make your money and to capitalize and be able to pick up on the market increase. Also, the gap is so important right now. The gap is getting larger and larger with Montreal and Quebec City, where the cap rates are compressing, the price per door is increasing. So as far as that gap continues to increase, you can still pick up in between and make some money. I would encourage that. Same thing is happening in Sherbrooke. The speed is very slow in Sherbrooke. Gatineau is also very important right now as far as increased number of transactions. Not many large transactions took place in Gatineau though, but I was surprised when I saw that large asset go in Trois-Rivières. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely a benchmark for that market.
And it's funny you mentioned Gatineau because it's so many investors are looking at it, looking at that city, and obviously due to its geographical location close to on the other side of Ottawa and being being not as well off. There is so much opportunity to pick up buildings, and even I understand that in terms of land sale and new construction, there's a collection of new projects that are going up because now it makes sense, whereas a couple of years ago it didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And there still is, but there used to be a larger barrier with just the river basically going separating Ottawa from Gatineau. Once you were crossing that bridge, you were losing a large amount of value price per door,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird, but it's that stigma is leaving right now. And now we're seeing people coming from Ontario buying across the border, doing the 3, 4, 5K in distance to just pick up on the rents and also bring their knowledge across. The issue that these people have, of course, is working with our RBQ system here.
Yes.
So they're not used to that.
Yeah.
So I think that's where our leverage effect as Quebecers is, as far as buyers, as far as sellers, to encourage our local. And also, when you're looking at new constructions, you're right. There's a lot of land available. I'm thinking about Aylmer right now. And also you have all of this, which is fueled by the light train that they want to put in place, transportation. So everything that's around transit-oriented developments, that's where the money is right now.
Yeah.
And the price per door and the cost per construction is the same in Gatineau than it is in Montreal. And because of that, there's a lot of opportunity to densify, because a lot of the cities are ready to densify in that area. So the price of land is increasing right now in Gatineau. Yeah.
And so, okay, so Gatineau is really hot. Trois-Rivières, we spent a fair amount talking about. Sherbrooke as well. Quebec City and Montreal are kind of their own markets. Can you think of other, tier 2, tier 3 cities like that are still affordable and that are worth going? And sometimes I think of Granby, but I mean, that's a much smaller town and it's close to Montreal. But are there any other locations where investors can go and still get a good value?
Yeah, definitely. When you're looking at, I like to speak about the larger area of Montreal. So we're talking about the island a lot, but there's the South Shore and the North Shore. And right now we have the first skirt and the second skirt, and Granby is a little bit in the second skirt of Montreal. But I could see the gap becoming less important between the first skirt, the outskirt, and the second outskirt. So if you're going to invest, for example, Granby, Cowansville, Farnham are picking up if we're working on the South Shore.
Okay.
Then if we're going on the North Shore, most of the activity was stopping, say at Saint-Jérôme, Mirabel, etc. But now we're picking back up in the northern regions like Saint-Agathe, Mont-Tremblant, Saint-Donat, also secondary markets. So once you're able to offer something to the local clientele, which is your tenant base in that area, by optimizing, renovating, most of the population of Quebec is getting older also. So they don't want to live in homes anymore. They want to be flexible, etc. So they're looking for renovated assets. If you're going in those outskirts, do more important renovations to be able to attract people which are leaving the city also, and that want lifestyle that is mostly around nature, basically being able to walk in the forest, go to the lake, etc. People that cannot afford having a cottage either, but that want to rent to that lifestyle. I think that's where the money is right now. And I could see markets which were dormant picking up in now speed and activity that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
Because we had much more assets available in Montreal. Now the quantity of assets available is diminishing a bit. Although we have a lot of brokerage contracts, but we're just picking up more of the market at PMML.
Yeah. And one thing we often, well, we've been hearing about, I feel for like 10 or 15 years, is the generational transition. We mentioned baby boomers a few times, and yeah, they're at that age now where they want to simplify their life. Obviously, their kids don't live with them anymore. They don't want the maintenance of the house. They just want a condo. They can, close the door, turn the key, go to Florida for 3 months. And right now, we're all also benefiting on top of the effects of COVID, of that generational transition where maybe there's a little bit more assets coming on the market because they just don't want to bother anymore.
Yeah, they want to be hassle free. They need that flexibility. If you're looking at retirement homes, the pricing is quite high. If you're still in good shape, and the services that are available right now, they're remodeling everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to different of our customers completely remodeling. I'm thinking of one in particular that even created his own TV station. So
Wow.
just to keep, so they have to remodel the services that they're giving, and they have to be competitive because they're competing against renovated units that sometimes are $1,500 less per month.
Yeah.
So $1,500 times 12 months, it's a lot of money to be able to just compensate the services by outsourcing them outside of the apartment building that you're living in.
Absolutely.
So what I'm seeing now is people offering services also, like internet included. I mean, that's
becoming standard.
It's becoming standard, and it's becoming a model that, a few months back, a lot of the population was still not comfortable with technology. With COVID now, we were kind of forced to go into it and to use it. So now barriers are dropping. So internet is a definitely go. Just paying for the hydro also, and flipping the bill, but just paying for the bill. And so having a one-stop shop bill for the tenants is definitely good.
Yeah.
Parcel delivery services, a place for parcels in your,
other sorts of
Yes.
sorts of amenities, the gym, the conference room for teletravail, and all those services that add quite a bit of value and help attract a different clientele.
Yeah, definitely. So it might be worth in the larger buildings to lose a unit or two and offer local services, and you'll be able to pick up in rent. Are people going to use it? Maybe, maybe not. Often people rent with a pool, a jacuzzi, they just never use it.
Exactly.
A fireplace, who uses a fireplace? But so it's just to have it. It's a good to have. Yeah.
No, definitely. And so, okay, we're getting towards the end here, but where do you see this going? Because now we're not midway through the year now, we're just early May. Where do you think, by the end of the summer and then even by the fall, what tendencies do you think we'll keep seeing, and what do we have to look out for?
Right now, we still feel high volume. The pricing in the market's good. The quantity of transaction, it's still favorable. We're seeing some overpricing in certain areas. Certain owners trying to overprice, overbid, trying to compare. We're working really with the price per door right now, and not looking at the other criteria, not as much. So the number of times a net, number of times a gross we're selling, we're not looking at that much, but it's still there. It's still underlying. And if ever we have an increase in interest rates, I think that's where the market's going to change really. So right now I could see that in the second quarter, we should have a good volume. I would suggest that people, think about having a 5-year plan, 5-year exit plan, 10-year exit plan, and also doing in and out if you're optimizing. Try to keep that short, because the next 6 months is a market we could control. And normally, if everything continues to maintain in the same direction, we should be able to continue increasing the price per door. I think less drastically than before. Another issue that we're not controlling right now is COVID. How is COVID going to react? Are we going to have a second wave of a different beast come out on the market and have to reconfine and revaccinate? So COVID, it's been an accelerator to the market. So if you change that factor, you're definitely changing the market. Now we have that, but we also have the population getting used to and being able to cope much easily to COVID and to all the external issues coming from the market. So it's very hard to say where the market's going to go right now.
Mhm.
But I would say that we would increase price per door. We're going to continue to maintain that. Do a quick in and out if you're thinking of flipping, do it fast as possible. Don't go that deep into your renovations. I don't think you have to go that deep to get the money that you need to get to refinance.
Yeah.
So yeah, prudence I think is the main word here.
Okay. And then lastly, like if there's any opportunities you can think of, obviously, you know, we talked a lot about on the geographical side, a little bit on the asset class. Is there a particular type of product that you feel like is still niche and people could still capitalize on?
I'm seeing a lot of furniture included.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of that come out. I'm seeing a lot of appliances included. I'm also seeing, you know, we used to talk about one way of making good leverage on a building is to buy a building which is heated and where the hot water is furnished by the owner. There's still a lot of assets like that. If you could pick those up, even if you're paying a little bit more, you could convert it to electricity, have one electrical counter covering the heating, the electricity, and the lighting in the units, and then decide, okay, I have a 16 unit, I have 17 hydro counters. For that unit, for this unit, is it better this year to rent with the electricity included or not? It gives you flexibility. Mm-hmm. And also it gives you that leverage effect, which still exists. That's a definite opportunity. Then just look at your price per door in an area, and everything that's, say, 80% below that price per door, have a good look at it and decide if you're going to bid on it or not. Opportunity is still in those assets.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of assets right now where the rents are very, very low for the market and where we could still pick up in value.
Okay. Well, good tidbits here of knowledge, and I really appreciate the stats. It's also good to get a few numbers, and I mean the big one of today is that basically a quarter into the year we've seen almost half of the volume of last year in terms of value, and that's a big eye opener. And you know, you've discussed why there was a bit of a glut there at the end of Q4 in 2020, but it's still very impressive, and it just shows how hot the market is right now.
We had a lot of refinancing take place in November, December. Those were record months. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so people that refinance could buy now. So there's still, yeah, we if you want to go into the market these days, it's a great time to do it. Trois-Rivières is definitely a hot market to go into. Look at those secondary markets, look at your price per door, and try to create value.
Super. All right, and finally, where can people find out more about you?
PMML.tv is definitely a place where you would see a lot of videos that we have on the market right now. PMML.ca is also a platform where we have all of our contracts which are listed up there. You have the economic value calculated, how much money do you need to put in. We just put out on the market our new land development platform where we sell land. We're very proud of that. We also have some commercial. So those are the main places. Or just, you know, pick up one of our listings, look at the phone number there, give us a call. I mean, we're just a call away. We're available. We'll return the call promptly, give you the information you need on the market. Mm-hmm.
And I would also encourage listeners, because I've been using them and they're very good, is the quarterly reports. There's a lot of very good stats, and sometimes it's exactly your market, sometimes it's not, but it gives you a very good indication of a lot of key factors such as price per door, net revenue multiplier, so on and so forth. And they're available for free. Just go download them.
Absolutely. We have those every quarter, very complete. We have our analysts working on those. We're compiling all of the sales. We're trying to also add criteria as we go, make things easier, more accessible for the market. And also we have different capsules like the one we're doing right now, Axel, which I think is going to be very useful for the market.
Absolutely. Well, Thierry, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you here today. We'll probably do another one at some point in the summer, whenever in between the vacations, and if we can find some time. So to everyone, stay tuned. And as always, please, if you like the content, subscribe, share it with a friend, send us some feedback. It really helps in order to get some good guests and for you to get the value that you want, so you can learn from it and help you invest. So thank you very much, and talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.